What's going on, everyone? It's Young Man. Today is November 6th, 2025. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, Metaplanet, and Strategy. These are the three topics that we've been covering and the three topics that we're going to continue covering. Today I'm mostly going to be talking about Bitcoin because, as we know, Metaplanet and Strategy are directly related to Bitcoin. They're Bitcoin treasury companies, and their performance is largely dependent on the performance of Bitcoin. So right now, what we have going on with Bitcoin is the sentiment is poor. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around Bitcoin. A lot of the narrative within the Bitcoin community and outside of the Bitcoin community is that we're at a point where we're not sure which direction we're headed. A lot of people are calling for a bear market. A lot of people think we might see a 60, 70, 80% drawdown. So there's a lot of voices that are urging against you to buy Bitcoin. I don't think that appropriately reflects the actual situation with Bitcoin right now. I think that there are too many tailwinds. There are too many macro events happening that suggest we see higher prices for me to believe that. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an expert. I'm just some person. But there are too many positive things going on for Bitcoin for me to believe that we're going to see this huge drawdown and we're going to go down to 60K. That could happen, but if you believe in Bitcoin, if you have the conviction that comes after researching Bitcoin, you would like to see that. I will not be upset if we do see that. If we see that, I will be aggressively buying. But I don't think we're going to. I think that the rest of the year we might climb higher. We might see something like 150, 175. It would take a lot to get there, but I think with the institutional adoption happening, I think with nation states starting to, there's game theory starting. I think USA quietly accumulating Bitcoin, in my opinion, means countries in the East are going to be doing the same thing if they aren't already. They don't have to say if they're doing that, but I believe there's going to be a global race for Bitcoin that's going to be kicking off soon. It probably has already started. I don't have proof for you guys that it's already started, but it would make sense that these entities are looking closely at Bitcoin. And if there's potential for something to be a global reserve asset, the first to know are going to be USA, China, Russia. These are large governments that are competing against each other for resources and power and wealth. And Bitcoin is a resource, its power, and its wealth. I don't think it's crazy to believe that we're going to start seeing nation states competing for Bitcoin. And if that's happening, we're also going to see corporations competing for Bitcoin. There are a lot of corporations in the USA that have these huge balance sheets with plenty of money to allocate a little bit to Bitcoin. Out of the Mag 7 stocks, the only one who has done this is Tesla. Tesla owns some Bitcoin. They've said that they're not going to sell their Bitcoin. We haven't seen Apple, Microsoft, Meta, any of these other ones. We haven't seen them make a move like that, but I wouldn't be surprised that in the short to medium term, we hear an announcement like Apple's going to put 1% of their balance sheet into Bitcoin. If it's nothing more than just a hedge, I think strategically it would make sense to see that. If we see that, there's a whole new race of corporate adoption that's going to kick off. Right now, we only have Saylor at Strategy and Dylan and Simon at Metaplanet and a couple of these other smaller scale treasury companies in different pools of capital around the world competing to accumulate Bitcoin. If we see that these already established operating companies start racing towards Bitcoin, what's that going to do to the price? it's not going to slowly grind up like we've seen. It's going to explode. And that's why I make videos like this, urging people to look into it sooner than later. Because it's much more enjoyable to start hodling Bitcoin at 100K than it's going to be at 1 million. Because your paycheck is going to be the same today as it is in 3 years, most likely. It's going to be very close. And a portion of that paycheck into Bitcoin is going to get you a lot more Bitcoin right now than it will 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That's why I make these videos. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think that there are things that are moving in the direction of Bitcoin being adopted on a large scale. So to address some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt regarding Bitcoin right now, I don't think people understand that the risk that you take on when you buy some Bitcoin isn't much different than the risk that you take on when you store your energy and your time and your labor in the US dollar. The US dollar is one of the greatest stores of value in terms of currencies around the world. It's one of the best currencies because it's backed by the United States and their military and the power of the USA government, which is stronger than many other governments around the world. But it's not a great store of value because we are indebted. The common person in the street knows that the USA is in significant debt. They're in a debt spiral. Trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. And it's not just that we're in more debt than we can pay. The interest on that debt is snowballing. We can't even pay the interest on the debt. If the United States was an individual, if I was the United States, the situation that I would be in is if I took out a credit card and I maxed it out and I didn't pay it back and the interest was accumulating, and I took out another credit card to pay the interest on the original credit card and I maxed the second one out, and then I didn't pay off the interest on the first, and now I have interest on the second, and I'm going to take out another credit card and do. That's what the United States has been doing. Ever since we've gone off the gold standard, the fiat dollars that we measure our wealth in are all indebted to 10 years ago's fiat dollars. It's a cycle, and the only way it ends is your purchasing power evaporating. That's what happens. It happens all over the world. We see it happen in other countries. I think I saw something, I think it was Zimbabwe. They're making origami with their dollars because they're not worth anything. If 99% of your purchasing power just melts away, what do you have? You don't have anything. You want to be buying Bitcoin. Even if you're not going to be a person like me and put the majority of your money into Bitcoin, put some of it, because you can maybe offset the money that you're losing on the process of inflation happening. That's why I recommend Bitcoin, I'd recommend Metaplanet, and I recommend Strategy. These Bitcoin treasury companies like Strategy and Metaplanet, they're going to provide the same type of deflation as Bitcoin will, but it's kind of levered because they have debt on their balance sheet and they're accumulating more and more Bitcoin. So you can almost compound the value of your money even more than you can with Bitcoin. That's why I like to talk about Metaplanet and Strategy. It's very interesting. It's not financial advice, but it is very interesting. So like I was mentioning about the debt spiral, there's really no way out of that. What they're going to do to try to escape that is this business with the stable coins. But all that's going to do is money's going to flow into Bitcoin through that process. They're going to try to convert the debt that they're into stable coins, because no one really wants US Treasury bills. Like, most of the wealth is stored in them, but a lot of the people storing their wealth, I shouldn't even say a lot, a good portion of the people that store their wealth in these treasury bills kind of realize that it's just backed by a promise from the government who's in significant debt. It's not backed by fundamental math like credit that's backed by Bitcoin is. And sailors out here offering these products that are really going to replace bonds, and they're not going to replace bonds. They're just bonds that are backed by Bitcoin. And more people are going to be interested in that, and more people are going to want these credit instruments that are backed by math. So all that money is going to flow into these products, and all that money is going to flow into Bitcoin and into Strategy. And if you're a shareholder, into your bank account. That's the process that's going to happen. And as far as Metaplanet is about to launch these perpetual preferred shares. It's the same thing that Strategy is doing. And what that's going to do is it's going to unlock all this capital in Japan that they can't invest in Bitcoin. They can't invest in the Metaplanet common stock, but they can use these instruments because it's bonds. And those pools of capital are magnitudes larger than the ones that can just put their money in a security like Metaplanet common stock. 100 times bigger. Institutional investors that have money locked up that's not earning anything, it's losing purchasing power, it's going to flow into these bonds that Metaplanet's going to offer. And Metaplanet's going to turn around and buy Bitcoin with that. So if you're a shareholder of Metaplanet at these prices that we're at right now, $2.80, you're going to be part of that process of this flywheel of value that they're going to create. It's not financial advice, but it is worth looking into. Metaplanet, Strategy, and Bitcoin. These are ways that we can escape being in debt for forever, because whether you're in debt as an individual or not, the money that you are valuing your time and your labor and your efforts in comes from an entity that is in debt that it can't escape. If you want Bitcoin, that is digital energy, digital capital that doesn't owe anything to anybody. So the value of it's going to go up. It's not going to go down over time. It's going to go up. So I recommend looking into these things. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's very interesting. And I believe that it's been worth my time to research it. And I believe that it would be worth your time to research it. So I appreciate you clicking on the video. I appreciate you listening till the end if you did. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you.